What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Training Grounds on the Shotgun Shogun. And with the second anniversary coming up, I figured I would make this video because it seems like a lot of people are getting into the game, and it's going to be a much bigger time to get into the game as well, considering all of the new stuff that is going to be coming out. So one of the biggest things that people ask when they first start playing this game is, hey bro, is this selective summon good? Should I keep this selective summon? Now, for those of you who don't know what a selective summon is when you start the game, well, first off, why did you look up this video in the first part? But regardless, selective summon is your initial roll that you get, and you can re-roll this, I think it's 30 times, and then if you don't get something that you want, you either have to delete and re-roll the whole game, or you lock in what you want. So we're going to go over today what some of the strongest picks are for the selective summon and why going into the late game if you want to optimize your account. Now, first off, I'm going to say that if the character fits into your waifu category, your aesthetics category, then it's obviously the best character to go with. But if you are a power gamer, if you do want to go and really just set your account up for success into the late game, that is what we are going to go over. Now, you don't really want to focus on artifacts. You want to focus on characters, because artifacts you'll get as you go through the game. There's alternatives. There's not too many core artifacts that if you don't have it, the insert said character is worthless, right? So we're going to start at some of the B tier, A tier, and then we'll finish with obviously the S tier units. Now, one of the units that you're going to want to look into, and if you do get this unit, I will tell you a bit about it. Let's go into here. Now, you're going to be able to get Tywin. Now, first off, if you look at his animation, you'll notice that the wind for his hair and his cape blow at different rates, right? So whoever animated this, they need to get on point. But one of the big things with Tywin is that he is part of an endgame cleave team with him, Basar, as well as two cleavers, right? So he is very good. He's a tank that provides offensive utility. However, he does require a lot of extra strong characters, right? And he's primarily used in PvP. He can be used in PvE content, but there are a lot of better options over top of him. So he is an okay B tier pick if you do find him aesthetically pleasing. So the next one up is going to be Chloe. Now, Chloe is a very good single target burst unit. She is very, very good in wyvern hunts, which, if you have heard anything about this game, is one of the most important end game pieces of content that is available. But that's kind of the only place that she's used is in wyvern. She will make wyvern a little bit easier for you, but that is about it. Again, aesthetically pleasing. If that is your jam, then get her. Otherwise, I would call her a hard pass. Now, your other B tier is going to be Destina, and actually Destina is pretty good. However, there are other options in terms of healers and soul weavers, and while Destina is very, very strong at cleansing debuffs, she does have very long cooldowns on her skills, and her base speed is pretty low. Additionally, having access to characters like Angelica Montmorency as a free specialty change unit does make her a little bit less of a core pick than she used to be when the game first came out. She was very, very, very strong, and she was a pretty much prime pick in order to carry you through the rest of the game. Now, however, if you do want to start with a very strong soul weaver, she is one of those. However, a lot of people are going to want to start with some sort of DPS or tank or utility, something along those lines. So moving on to your A tier, you also have in this pool, you're going to have a Seria. And one of the things with a Seria is that she is very unique in her role, in that her S2 can completely reset the cooldowns of any ally except for, well, obviously herself, because, you know, she's not her own ally, but this does grant her an extra turn. So this means that there are units in the game such as Dark Corvus or Tamarin who start out with their skill on cooldown. So this can completely reset that, and then it can enable very strong abilities very early. Not only that, you can use it to, so let's say she goes after a unit, you can use it to reset all of that unit's cooldowns and then just do it all again the next turn. Very strong. She is a support character, so she's not going to be able to solo by herself. She is strong in most content, mostly PvE, PvP, challenge, abyss levels, things along those lines. She's also very good at debuffing, defense breaking, and you can actually run her with damage, and she can be a very strong single target nuker as well. So she is a very solid pick if that is something that you want to go with. Like I said, she is unique in that she can reset those skill cooldowns. Now, keeping in with grass here, you have Basar, and Basar is probably one of the most cancerous units in PvP. In PvE, he's rather weak, doesn't really bring much to the table, but when it comes to PvP, this guy is the absolute king at the moment. They are putting out things to counter him, but very strong. And the reason being is that his S3 attacks all enemies and pushes them back, as well as making them unbuffable and stripping buffs. And this can be soul burned in order to ignore effect resist. This guy with the Abyssal Crown artifact is one of the hands down most cancerous things in the entire game. Absolutely super strong, A tier pick. But like I said, he is very niche in that he can only be used in PvP. I mean, you can use him in PvE, but he really doesn't bring much to the table. He's also used in tandem with Tywin, who we said was in the B tier, in order to do what is called Basar Tywin Cleave, where Basar strips, pushes back, Tywin defense breaks into 2 cleavers. Easy peasy cleanup. Now let's move on to fire units, and these are going to be some of your more stronger units. We'll start with Ken, who is just an absolute monster who can use a lot of gear, right? There's a lot of, you'll see a lot of memes as you're playing the game that it's like, oh, that's Ken gear, oh, that's Ken gear. He is the World of Warcraft hunter of Epic7. Does it have weird stats? It's hunter gear, it's Ken gear. He's very strong in a lot of content, both PvP and PvE. He provides DPS as well as utility in that he can defense break, he can burn, he can stun, decrease attack as well. A lot of his skills are very good, and I have seen some very good builds for him. I've ran a couple of builds for him. Grass is becoming more prevalent in the PvP metas, so he is a very strong pick. However, he is outclassed by a lot of other bruiser warriors. Speaking of, we're going to go up to our next bruiser warrior, and that is Ravi. And this is actually one of my personal favorite fire bruisers. So she is a very safe unit in that she does have lifesteal on her S1. This is going to be real big for keeping her alive. Her S2 increases her attack as she's hit or takes turns. And not only that, but it will push her forward in the lineup. So it's going to make her faster. The more that she gets hit, she'll be able to regen her hit points. And then as she builds fighting spirit, she can do an AoE attack on her S3. Very strong. She's very good at most pieces of the game. I use her regularly in PvP. She is a great farmer, although she is slow because she is not very AoE, but she's very safe when it comes to farming. She's good in raids for morale. She is very just overall strong. Now the problem is very, very gear and stat hungry, meaning that in order to make her really shine, you are going to have to put some investment into her, as well as I haven't really used her too much in hunts, so she will be a more PvE focused outside of farming hunts, but nobody really farms Golem anyways. The last one in the A tier is going to be Fire Charlotte. Now, Fire Charlotte at the very beginning was okay. Then they changed her and she was kind of With the most recent buffs, she is disgustingly good. I use her regularly. She's very, very easy to build in that the damage that she does not require a lot of critical hit chance, because her S1, when she is buffed, is going to be an AoE attack that triggers a critical hit regardless of critical hit chance. And this is really, really big. She has her own built-in defense buff after she's attacked, as well as attack buffs, so that is very strong. And her S3 can inflict unhealable on the enemy, which is huge in a lot of spaces. She's great at raid DPS. She's insane in PvP. She is really, really good. Now, one of the downside is that she does need to have those buffs. So she can provide her own buffs if she's getting attacked, but you will want to pair her up with other buffers so that you can continue to have buffs on her all the time. You can also run an artifact on her called Justice for All, which will have a chance to give her a buff at the end of the turn. Very, very strong, easily becoming one of the top tier bruisers for a knight in the RTA PvP scene. So that is going to be the A tier units. Now we're going to move on to your S tier units, and these are the ones that you should absolutely pull for. I mean, this is going to just make you, if you are a metagame player, these two units are going to literally make your account just easy peasy. And the first one's going to be Vildred, and the reason why is because Vildred is a very fast farmer, and one of the things you're going to have to do a lot in this game is farm. A lot of farming, and Vildred is going to make your life so much easier. Not only that, but he is actually really good in PvP for cleave comps. He has speed imprints. If you ever get more of him, that's going to just be even better. He is going to be just an absolute monster when it comes to that. He's also very usable in hunts as well, like as a Manic and the Banshee hunts for clearing things out on a cleave situation here. But the one thing that he is gonna not be able to farm very well is obviously fire monsters, and you know, anything with massive amounts of hit points. He's a thief, so you're gonna want to just make sure that he's cleaving and cleaning out low level stuff in order to level up all of your other units, walk dogs, things like that. You'll get to know what all of these mean as you play the game. So the other one and this is actually the one that I personally suggest, and that's because this is going to make your entire life easier. It's going to be Sigrid, and that's because Wyvern 13, the Wyvern hunt, is going to be what you are going to be farming once you get to early late game, mid late game, late game, end game. You're going to be farming Wyvern, and Sigrid is going to be the damage dealer that is going to make that amazingly easy. But that's not all. She also now has Extinction on her S3, meaning that you can transition her into PvP as well, and she counters revivers like Ruel, Maid, Chloe, Arbiter, Vildred, to just put some out there. So this is going to be really good, and a lot of times if you are using her for Wyvern, you can kind of take that build right into PvP as well. Now, one of the big things is she's going to rely on the debuffs in order to do all that damage. Not so much in PvP, but in PvE she absolutely is. She's not a very good farmer outside of that, but just the simple fact that she is going to make your Wyvern 13 life so much easier is huge. Now, I mean, obviously there are alternatives to that that are free, so if you do go with Vildred, there are alternatives to the Wyvern 13 team, but this is going to be super huge. Now now that I went over your tier lists, right, your tier lists of re-rolls, one of the things is that you're going to want to re-roll if you are just going for the absolute maximum efficiency. You're going to want to make sure that you are going for one of the S tier plus one good 4-star. Now, a lot of times you're going to want to make sure that you know, you have one of the more meta 4-stars. Now, previously Angelica was the, you know, the meta go for this unit. Absolutely do not re-roll for this unit, because early on in the game she made the entire game infinitely easier for you. Personally, with the rise of Angelic Montmorency as well as other alternatives, I do not think that she is a must re-roll for. Personally, I think that there are other ones. Now, you can roll for Acades as well, who is another Soul Weaver. So let's say you re-rolled for Vildred plus Acades. This has your damage and your healing taken care of. Not only that, but Acades does transition very well into late game PvP, as she's just amazingly annoying in RTA due to things like her invincibility as well as her cleanse. So that is a very strong pick. Now let's say you picked Sigrid and you also need maybe some tank ability here. You have the likes of Rose, who is probably going to, I'm going to say, one of my favorite ones out of the selective summon, because she CR pushes. I know that if you're new, you're not going to know what that is, but she's a buffer and she pushes all of your units higher up on the list of people to go forward with. She can cleanse debuffs, she can provoke, she's very tanky, very good enabler. I actually use her quite often in PvP. You also have Green Armin, who I think is a very big sleeper hit character. She heals, she adds barriers, she blinds people, she reduces damage that your units take, she can poison, she increases her own defense, she can stun, she does a lot of stuff. And not only that, but I mean, she's got really cute cat ears as well. So there's that. So I honestly think that she is very strong as a tank, as a knight, and personally I have been working on building her as well. Moving over to Chrisette, I actually like Chrisette as well. I have seen Chrisette actually solo a lot of things because, well, he's got some crazy abilities here, right? So on a 1-turn cooldown, he grants a barrier and increases defense to an ally for 2 turns when the ally's health is 50% or less after being attacked. Now, this is going to be really big because this is going to help out quite a bit in terms of your survivability. I have seen some just weird lifesteal Chrisette solo teams that, I mean, it took like forever for it to kill, but it was doable, right? It's actually pretty interesting. He is a very strong tank and can very much transition you into a later game tank as well. He will also be potentially very good for the likes of Wyvern. And you'll hear me say the W word quite a bit. Wyvern. Very good stuff here. Now, moving on to other characters that you can pull that I think are also very good. If we come over here to Thieves, you have Karen. Karen is also going to be very key to Wyvern as well, just because she's going to be very high damage. She can apply defense break, which is going to really help you out. She'll get an extra turn off of that, meaning that she can come in, defense break, just do crazy amounts of damage and help out with your Wyvern farming. Now, I don't see her very much outside of that. She'll help you out with the story, but in terms of PvP, not very important, not very often seen. The next one, however, is I do see quite often in PvP, and that's going to be Green Sid. Green Sid's going to help you out in PvP. Green Sid's going to help you out in Banshee hunts because he does a lot of damage. Not only that, but takes extra turns. He's also very good against revivers because if he does kill somebody with his S3, he gets an extra turn. You want to build him fast. He scales off of speed, which is very, very good. So you're going to have him as an opener. He's going to do a bunch of speed, kill the unit. They're going to come back. He gets an extra turn, and then he just kills them again. Very strong picks. So let's say you picked Arbiter, or not Arbiter, but regular Green Vildred, and you picked Sid. Very good Thief combo here to do just massive amounts of damage. Sigrid, Sid, very good combo as well. So Sid, very, very good pick out of that as well. One of the other ones that you can pick up out of that selective summon is also going to be Rin. Now, less common picked, but she is very good. She has random buffs that she can give to people. Defense break. She also has a... she dispels buffs. Very good. I've went up against counterattack Rins that have been just very, very strong. So realistically, with the advent of, and I'll show you one of the other things too, why I suggest Sigrid over Vildred in terms of your selective summon is because they were awesome enough to add Lena to the pool, and Lena is one of the easiest to build, fastest farmers in the entire game. Now, I say that because she has no animation on her third skill. It's just a swift uppercut, and because she has this S2, which is going to increase her critical hit chance by 50%, this is going to make her infinitely easier to build because you're not going to have as much critical hit chance. So you can build her to just literally clear waves. Not only that, but because she's a 3-star, she's not going to require any sort of Molagora investment. So as soon as you get this unit, I highly suggest working on it because she is going to carry you so far into the game when it comes to farming for a very minimal amount of investment. Realistically, you will get the vast majority of 3-stars as you go through the game, right? So don't worry about re-rolling for any of those specifically. You really want to just focus on getting the 5-star and the 4-star that you want. So like a Sigrid Chrisette combo, Sigrid Rose, Sigrid Armin, or any one of those. Personally, I think that a Sigrid Acades would be very good, or a Sigrid Rose personally. I think that those would help you out quite a bit because that will help with your survivability through the story as well as your damage, and then transition you, if you have a Rose, that'll transition you into Wyvern very easily as you go through alongside of some of the other ones. Now, there are obviously other units that you can get out of the selective summon, but these are just a few that I think are very, very strong. Now, recently, I know that there has been a buff to the likes of Ball and Sezin, who you could get out of there, but I don't think that it's enough in order to really take any of the places of the units that we have went over. So that is my selective summon for August of 2020. Obviously, things always change, but for the most part, I believe that these are going to be some of your stronger picks, regardless of, buffs, nerfs, things along those lines. This is going to be a very, very strong overview of what it is that you should pick. So that's it for me. I hope that you guys did find this helpful as you come into the game. I do have quite a few other guides on, how to roll gear, how to get gold, how to, optimize your account, things along those lines, things you should do every single day in the game, and 3-star artifacts and 3-stars that I think are really, really strong and that you should focus on. Stuff along those lines, those should be in the playlist for the training grounds. But anyways, if you do have any questions, as always, you can join the Discord, ask in there, or leave a comment down below. I'll try to get to it. But if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel if you want to, and I appreciate it. I do. If you would also like to help out the channel, share this out to other people who might be getting into the game. If you are getting your friends into the game, show them this video as well so that they can have a strong start with their selective summon. But that's it for me, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace.
Cracky.